that nice area between, you know, like the coastline and the clubhouses where it's not two-way one or the other. And it's also a really uniquely shaped map as well. I think the sights are really fun. All in all, I'm stoked to be going back.
Stoked?
Oh
no, you're not stoked. Stoked is stoked. Did you get much of a chance, because obviously the map pool changed, by the way, Thatcher, the map pool changed not too long ago and Bank was removed. Did you get much of a chance to cast it before it went?
No, I don't think I've ever casted Bank, which I was kind of glad about because I'm about to say something really blasphemous here, but I don't like Bank.
Okay, no, I mean, it depends on the region you say that in. You say that in Latin America, you're gone. Because my point is, for me, Consulate, we need to talk about that Amaru ban in a second, and we will. Consulate is what Bank is to LATAM for EU. It is such a good map. It plays so aggressive. It leads in really, really well. Okay, now I'm going to talk about that Amaru ban. Oh, Des is screaming, Amaru's banned. Gone. Get out of there. Ace is happy too. It was a big point. Did you see how much it was used yesterday by BDS, by the control that they were able to offer here? It is such a target ban against that team.
I mean, I can tell you for a fact I did see because
you were there.
Casted. I casted it. Yeah, we saw that be used particularly effectively yesterday against Rogue, especially on those, well, particularly on those top floor attacks, which is where they would wait until very, very late, say 30 seconds left of the round, send Amaru up. Suddenly you've got everybody in CEO. Everyone's already pre-positioned so that they can take the fights they need to. Such a heavy defense was coming out from Rogue onto the yellow stairs. They completely, on the attack 4, went dealing with that. And then suddenly all of the defenders had to rotate and try and deal with it. But no, you've already got the plant down by that point. Post-plant situation, all these fights happening. It was wild. And Virtus.pro decided they just don't want to deal with it.
Honestly, it is the right move. It was one of the things that was called out. Obviously, it was, you went into a bit of predictions last time around yesterday. All of us did of, hey, you expect Rogue to do a little bit better. They didn't. Moral of the story. But Amaru was a big problem for them when they were here, obviously facing the beast of BDS onto Consular. It was something that was talked about of, if you want to stumble a passion-driven team, pull out their slightly creative operator. To be honest, said at the time, you know, it's not going to stumble them too much, but anything, any stick through a wheel, regardless of how flimsy it may be, is still something that slows the bike. And, well, unfortunately, the bike rode right through Rogue yesterday. Here, Virtus.pro, they're not messing around. They're not going to play the Amaru game.
No, I really like actually this setup that BDS are going for with the defense. They've already opened up the default plant spot in CEO, so that really suggests they're going to be wanting to play the vertical game. And the fact that they've got Vigil on the really deep roam anyway, and you also have Renshiro who's on mute, and he's going to be able to have the C4 in hand, which can also be played from below. It suggests that that's exactly what it is they're going to be going for, preparing for. Ooh, that's very close. And there we go, that's going to be, well, not even a death, just, there we go, there's the death. Shockwave taken straight off the board, and that's a very early loss for Virtus.pro.
Renshiro, if you didn't see him yesterday, he, well, gave a bit of a masterclass across all of the games. He showed up so big, and for an operator, well, historically, a player who plays operators that are your flank holds, your watches, he defined what Blackbeard could be back when it was a big part of the meta. He just popped off. He got electric, he got executing, and he was always in the faces and kind of said, you know, I'm one of these early door year 1 players. This is the caliber that I can bring behind my play. Look at the intense immediate pressure here.
Well, I was going to say, it's not even just that. It's the fact that Zafira is so key on this site to be able to take meeting, which you really can't afford to not have, and now that's not there. So much more pressure has to be applied by the rest of the team to be getting in through other means. You can't open up the table from below. You can't necessarily have someone present on the balcony. So Rafale, to be removed, is going to take so much more effort from Virtus.pro.
Now then, he's dug in the corner that is generally held a Lems on a deep roam all the way beneath. One of the things about this map that I always love to see and love to talk about, and I guess with Amaru off the board you won't see as much, is the hatch synergy. It's so quick to rainfall down this map, get from top to bottom, and it can really lock down a roam. You usually see Nomad banned. It's quite a consistent one to be off instead of where the Amaru is, but obviously VP knew what they wanted to do, and it was to try and target the particular play that BDS like to bring here. Throw them off their game, take them by surprise. You talk about talisman players and passion teams. BDS live and breathe at that mentality. You throw anything slightly off the beaten track and things could go wrong. A nice idea. with that grenade, and the Capital Flame is going to do a little bit more, but we've pushed him out, shepherded him away, and the room is now a little bit yours, but who's that beneath? It's Renshiro.
Yeah, he still does have that C4 in hand, but he does have to be aware that he is going to be watched potentially. He's got eyes on the balcony for now, and they know that Rusk, well, I was going to say low health. He has no health right now, but Virtus.pro is seeing the opportunity to move on in. Shaiko didn't know where he was looking, but Rafal absolutely does, and he can just clean up 2 of those kills, in fact. Renshiro does go down, but there's just 1 remaining player on the side of Virtus.pro. 5 seconds remaining, but it's still 5 seconds too much. BDS finishes things off, and I said Rafal was going to be the problem that Virtus.pro would have to deal with in that round, and it turned out he really was the thorn in their side in the form of 3 nice kills.
Well, Virtus.pro was stumbled with some of the plays that they suffered in their game just earlier today. G2 were very quick to act, throwing themselves out of windows with the intel they may or may not have had. Didn't matter. Uno was looking for blood, and he kept on finding it. And unfortunately, when you're a team like VP that can be really, really good at that pushed against the wall adaptation and rotation, if you're against a team that is also very good at that playstyle and also very good at just kind of getting into the mess and having the wrestle and seeing who comes out less scathed, well, things like that happen. It becomes a very scrappy in the hands of Virtus.pro, and it takes them to have these high expectation, high explosion rounds that sometimes only really fall into the hands and the guns of Pasha, a player who throughout this entire season and series has been very, very good. It's just unfortunately the kind of burning twice as bright has only been hit or miss with players like Amision, Rask, Shockwave, and WTG.
I'm wondering if BDS were trying to bait Virtus.pro into thinking this was going to be a basement defense, because they did have the Bandit originally on their lineup before switching over to Echo as the 6th pick. But obviously they're going to be coming up to lobby, which we spoke about it a bit yesterday. This has become a much more popular site, both in EU and in NA, and even APAC, in fact, just across the board. It has found itself more frequently in the preferences of a lot of these teams. Now, having the Echo is something that they did have last time, but of course the Yokai drones are going to be incredibly useful. We said yesterday that Echo has a pretty high ban rate, especially given the fact that he was perma-banned for a while, and now he's fallen into a lot of the optional bans for these teams. But making his way through the ban phase this time means that these teams should get a lot of value out of him.
An admin take, the old familiar, especially in the world of Russia, where they kind of defined how this would be put together. Obviously, Empire were the first to, well, construct that empire, but it bled through the rest of the scene and the world. They're looking for anybody that might be beneath and looking for anybody that might be close, but it's opening your angles, rotations. If I'm going to talk about how well this map can work in the hands of defenders, attackers obviously have plenty of sightlines and tricks they can utilize through the big swathes of soft floor. Now then, well, this is step 1 of a multi-step process, and Bride, a player we talked about before who was unbelievable at the start of the season, started to slow during the mid and end, and so far hasn't kind of kicked himself back into gear across these series. It's taken some outstanding plays from the rest, obviously notably Renshiro, but you know, Shaiko has some rounds and Rafal has already opened up big today. I guess it's this moment of, is he going to be able to hit the skill and caliber he had when he first joined this roster?
That's Bride really needs to stand up tall to be matching their heights right now. Still, players on BDS are upstairs and require clearing out, even though over half the round has gone by now. And even though you bring a Nomad to be able to control the rotations, we did see Shaiko for a very long time still sat at the top of the yellow stairs. That's something that Virtus.pro are going to have to be very aware of. Amision just preparing this nade right now to try and clear out the bottom of Spiral, but Bride is far away enough that he can avoid it.
Holding on deep and awaiting the potential of a collapse back round. They have an idea of where things want to go and why they want to go there, but it's just a matter of locking down and getting some control here. The drones are heavy and hefty, something that we've seen pretty consistently from all these teams. Obviously, when you're at the top caliber of any region, you expect to see a lot of hot droning, a lot of communication. It was the bread and butter for a lot of VP's plays, and here, with an Echo drone looming and less than 30 seconds, whatever VP do, it's gotta be watertight. They dig round, throw a grenade, but it doesn't catch the man on the stairs, and that's a big potential loss. The patience of an Echo, who I don't think connects properly, has to bring the other drone round, but there is actually the catch and the cover. Bride, from the savior of not being blown up, is able to save the diffuser and stop it going down. They're going for a second attempt here. Alems is still on the board with an echo. I'm assuming he's watching, but it doesn't seem like he is. Pasha is going to take a triple as the rotation comes around the back. It's all on the pressure on this back spiral stairs. A 2 versus 1 post plant. Alems had everything within his grasp, and a little lip on the edge of a desk has separated him from immediate glory. Drops down right into the maw of Virtus.pro. And Virtus.pro take a round.
Oh, the coordination and teamwork exhibited there by Virtus.pro was just fantastic. They knew a mission was in trouble, and of course it looked like maybe he wasn't going to be. We didn't know if the Yoko drone connected at first. It did in the end. But as soon as that happened, 2 of them dropped down together. They collapsed into the site. The members of BDS weren't directly on the site. They were surrounding it, and that meant that they could gradually pick them off. We've seen how Pasha, especially earlier today, I'm talking their game against G2, right? He really showed up. So he knew he had the confidence and the ability to be the one to sort of go on that slight roam where he could go and seek out these players from BDS who maybe weren't quite expecting the direction from which he was headed. I'm sorry, I'm just excited.
It's all right. It was a very exciting round. And for those who are wondering why we're back to us, there's just a very quick technical rehost. I'm sure. Now, I haven't got Twitch chat open. I'm sure people may have noticed it was 60 FOV. Which isn't what we want. We want to get
we just want to change it.
Yeah, we don't want to feel like, it feels like you're blinkered. I guess, it's PC. We want to see all of the FOV possible. We'll be back in the game momentarily. It's one of those things, but
this is a really good time actually to just remind people that if you don't play on the highest FOV that you can, just go change that.
Yeah, I mean, don't you want to see everything possible? Don't you want to see all of the beautiful surroundings? We're back in the game now. We didn't need to do a rehost. It was on the production side, which is good. It's nice. I'm going to touch the wood and pray to the technology lords. I think, obviously, this was a very last minute due to the pandemic. It's gone very well so far. I'm just going to say, like, for this being a sudden online broadcast, you got to give credit to all the tech and all the players that have obviously been able to get this running.
I mean, you obviously went around in the regular season, but production has just been so smooth. But as Shaiko has been in his play, and if he can actually catch one of these players out, that is Rask on the admin window. But he's not going to decide to retreat instead, just take position in yellow stairs instead.
Holding on the top and juggling ADS is the dance that you do on the top of yellow stairs. It is as old as time, and, well, Renshiro is tailing his tail as old as time. Getting the opener. That's 2 openers across the 3 rounds now for Renshiro. Again, a player who throughout the season, and probably the season before, was quite quiet. Didn't have to be explosive. You're playing alongside some of the best explosive players in the world, especially when Shaiko is on your team. Here, though, this is almost like when we saw Alems step up for BDS. The first time Alems was really there on the major stage for this team, he was shouting, he was carolling and controlling a roster that really needed that bit of fire and fuel and was able to take big rounds and motions by himself. It's great to see Renshiro, another historic player, another well-storied player, be able to come in, step up, and step in to this match against VP.
I mean, when you talk about the story, there's just so much on both sides, given the Virtus.pro have pretty much been a full squad for a long time. Karma was obviously switched out for a mission a little while ago, but other than that, the entire core of the roster is the same. So these are definitely players and teams with a lot of that story. 1-1 obviously is the scoreline right now, and they've still got a full series to go before they figure out who's going to be facing G2 in the grand final tomorrow. Patrick's going to be sending in those frag grenades to start things off as he tries to get this meeting control and just move in through the top floor.
Now, it becomes a little bit of a game of waiting. We saw the pressure come to a very heavy boil in the previous round because time came down to the wire and they hadn't got Bride out from the spiral stairs. Yet again, Bride is playing just off-site, just out of arm's length. They try and grenade and smoke to cover the rotation, but he's not there. Instead, Shaiko is drifting around on the yellow stairs and seems unprepared as they flood straight into the site and take control of Piano. There goes the body inside the bathroom now as they look towards Antechamber and see it is completely cleared. They have a straight run But Echo has eyes on 2, and this could be a big moment. There's still bodies underneath, and Renshiro is still above. Takes care of WTG and looks towards the drop. They're covering a rotation. Put in a post plant, and an Echo drone isn't going to do much other than give its game away. 40 seconds. They find their way into Piano and find their way through a mission in the middle. Now it's just looking towards the diffuser. It is all down to Ross. Catches yet again another body, and there's a second. A freebie handed into the corner of Piano. Bride, a player who we shout about to the heavens, has to look down to hell and finds it. There is one more. There goes Rask. And there is the second round for BDS.
That took me so much by surprise. I was fully expecting Rask to be able to clutch that one out and keep things in Virtus.pro's favor, but no, instead, Bride was ready. He knew he was going to be prone on the ground, and we spoke about how Bride put up so much throughout stage 1, really needed to do so here so that he could match the rest of his team who have been excelling so far in this competition. And that round just proved he can still do it. He's got the game sense. He's got the skill. He was ready, and he secured that round for BDS when it looked so much like it was in Virtus.pro's hands.
Well, that's 2 rounds to have in a row, isn't it?
Oh,
That's
who thought in the first 3 rounds this is what would have happened? This is wild.
Honestly, this is everything I wanted from this game. I know that obviously we've all put our predictions down and we've gone, it's BDS or it's Virtus.pro. It's one of the ways as we've got to, but at the same time, it's flip a coin.
I found this one the hardest one to call.
Oh, yeah. Like, Virtus.pro throughout this entire series and in this entire major have stepped up a lot. Here, obviously, BDS haven't had the start that we expected, as the top 2 teams neither did. These first 3 rounds, this is full pelt, full sprint, full aggression, full everything. Little mistakes, sure. Both teams seem to be caught out at little moments, and both teams can't quite capitalize upon each other. But when you're playing at this pace and this intensity, that's what happens. That is a byproduct of this. It in no way cuts down on how exemplary this start has been.
I'm definitely intrigued by the fact that BDS haven't decided to go down into the basement. They haven't visited it at all so far, returning instead to the top floor, which they did win back on round 1. Shaiko's not going to be able to catch anything out on that early spawn peak, but it is going to keep Virtus.pro on their toes as they know they've got to watch out for that window.
Yet again, a game of holding. Shaiko. I mean, if we're going to talk the praises of a lot of the players, and I'm going to talk about people who've made little mistakes, so far, unfortunately, you've made a couple. We saw you caught out. Granted, it was a quick and aggressive rotation, but, well, you should have expected that from just the audio. There's a jump out, and there's no retribution. Okay, unless that counts. Shockwave caught Pasha there on a bit of a crossfire just after the man had died. It becomes a bit of an unfortunate situation, and I'm sure Shaiko and Comms is like, that's my kill. I'm claiming that. It's my kill. I'm on 1 kill. It is not 4-0.
I'm just feeling like so far in this competition, Virtus.pro getting a team kill is almost like a rite of passage, because we had WTG getting a mission yesterday, and now having Shockwave getting Pasha. The only one who's not been involved is Rask, so they've got to get into the grand final, so you have the opportunity to have a Rask team kill.
You have to sacrifice.
You've got to do it now.
I think it was, I can't remember which team it was in the CCS Female League, but CCS Women's, they would sacrifice a player before the game. I think it was Lost Alice's team.
Like to the gods.
I believe so. And it was very successful, so maybe it's just that kind of mentality.
Oh.
Maybe they've taken the lesson there. 2 people swing in and try and get control of the yellow stairs. Renshiro is just below, poppers some bullets, peppers some corners of walls, and gives his location away. But with a minute 10, he can kind of play a little bit of chase. He's underneath the site. They can't get in and can't get comfortable as long as he's causing problems beneath. With the C4 too, you can see the Maestro, you can see the Echo. You don't need to see the information gain because you know it's there. It's a presence, it's a consistent, and that is a nightmare on this map with C4s.
Really quick and easy, though, for WTG to just remove those ADSs. It means that's just extra utility that Virtus.pro don't have to worry about. And he will be able to send in some of his utility without any kind of hindrance. But they also have to bear in mind there's just about 30 seconds remaining of this round, and Virtus.pro are going to have to hurry up. Just stunning down the staircase to prevent Renshiro from running on up, because they do know he's there, as he hasn't been dealt with. Virtus.pro have to go in and try and make this plant. The smoke's going to narrowly avoid them. Rask opens up with a kill, but they still got to go for it.
Now then, with a bit more utility burn and a little bit of ground, well, under their favor, but barely enough for them to start to scratch this surface comfortably. They're trying to hold the corner angle, and they are able to get the rotation back up round from Renshiro. With the diffuser stuck yet again, a mission is a man on a mission, and he finds a kill in amongst it too. Now it's yet again another 1 versus 1, but the legs give the game away. Oh no!
Bride and Post Plants. Name a more iconic duo. That's what I'm starting to feel like after these 4 rounds. This is his job now.
Yeah, this is what you do.
That's just it. That's his role.
I have to give credit here to a mission, as I very quickly said, man on a mission. I am holding this diffuser down. Pros, I've heard they don't fake.
I mean, look, Mission had such great stats. I think he was only behind Pengu in the regular season for the number of plants made, with 13. Pengu was on something like 15, 14. I think it was 15. Mission had 13. He is definitely someone who knows how to navigate those situations, get the diffuser down. The problem has been that Virtus.pro have had to work on throughout the regular season, ensuring that the post plant is clean. And I think one of the big problems that they did have in that last round was that their timing throughout the mid-round was not necessarily used the most efficiently from the perspective of clearing out those players of BDS who would be a problem to you later on. Obviously, they decided to leave Renshiro. They kept tabs on him, knowing he was still at the bottom of yellow stairs, and playing it patiently did mean that they could get rid of him later on. But there were still other players of BDS elsewhere on the map who could just move in once the diffuser had been planted. And if you lose those gunfights, it does leave it so vulnerable to be lost. They had to plant the diffuser because there was so little time left. And Virtus.pro are usually a team who are very good at planting very early. So I think if they're just a bit more snappy in being able to deal with BDS and clearing out those relevant players, they won't find themselves in these situations so much where they are getting the post plant taken away from them.
Shockwave versus Shaiko. Flip a coin, and I think that's probably who's going to get the kill first at this point between the pair of them. It seems like both teams are playing these slightly to the walls games. Obviously, it's been 3 post plants now in this situation, and, well, it's coming down to the wire every single time. The trades are coming out in what seems like unexpected positions, but these are 2 players of very high caliber that have unfortunately been the consistent ones caught out. At the beginning, obviously, we've seen Shaiko taking a fair few fights and not quite winning them. Shockwave has done it a little bit more quietly on the attack, but otherwise, again, it's just, this is the pace that's being put forward. One of the things that I really like about how BDS are pushing and taking things is they know where people are roughly. We see it most on lobby stairs, where they'll throw a grenade down, still smoke the front of it, and then push up past it or push up around it, and then just try and ignore it. It's like a 2-part process. Is obviously they've still got guns there. They just want to clear the way for their body to get past and actually start playing the objective, because Mission, he is playing that objective. Don't you dare try to stop him. But at the same time, BDS, I've talked about their passion, talked about their fire and their skill. They're so good at rotating background, so good at these frantic, terrifying moments that a lot of other teams would start to collapse on. There's a pre-fire, there's a danger. If we're going to see legs, well, there's one gone, and Mission takes care of Bride, the post-plant magician that he is.
That was very calculated. It really wasn't difficult for Virtus.pro to deal with that. Immediately, as soon as Pasha got on the rappel, he sent in the drone. Bride should have heard him opening up the window, and I think he did, because he got off the C4 at the time. Ooh, this could be close. He got off the C4 at the time. Pasha sends in his drone. He knows where he is. Mission's on the other side of the bathroom. He can just shoot through and get rid of him. When you are the attackers and you want to be moving into piano and antechamber to open up the floor and apply pressure down below, that's a really big and important kill to get, is that player who's in bathroom. And if it's that easy to get it, then that definitely works in your favor.
Big opener now as they try and drone in. They have the man advantage, and they have 40 seconds. Pipe's currently clear. How aware of that? I guess we'll find out. The shield is dropped, but look at Alems on the rotation there on the spiral. He's trying to find Pasha, but a bit of a destruction to try and, I'm assuming, get rid of an air jab that was playing on the top of the stairs. Waits, baits, but Pasha, he's not waiting around for anybody. There's one falling to Shockwave, who gets his first body as, well, Striker unfortunately falls as the only one without a kill. Rask with one more. I said, look at Alems, and now it's the only person we can look at for the hands of BDS. An absolutely clinical shutdown of the hold that was put forward here, and for the first time, we are seeing a team in any control of this game. And unfortunately, BDS were completely out of it.
I was actually amazed that Alems missed Shockwave on the stairs when he ran into Piano. He was so close to being able to see him, and I guess just didn't. Obviously, desperately trying to look in at the default plant spots, you know, into the garage when he was looking in through the floor. Just couldn't see anything. Obviously, something that BDS has been able to do very well is be able to deal with the post plant and get the disable. Weren't able to do it there, but you said it, Fluke. It was very clinical. It was very well coordinated. And even though, once again, the plant was quite late in the round compared to what Virtus.pro usually do, it felt a lot more calculated and patient and well-timed.
That was it. Everything was balanced. And I think for the first time, a team actually had a grasp on the map. Okay, there's been some heavy rounds back and forth, but I would say it's fair to give the point that none of the teams were really in control of how things were cooking. Everybody was surprised that Amision was sticking the plants, just as everybody was surprised that it was quickly retaken in these frantic, chaotic moments as well. This has been a game of play the objective amongst the chaos, and for the first time, Virtus.pro, out of both these teams, said, wait a second, let's take a step back. We've got the opener. They got it quite early, which might have been able to play into the fact that they could have locked it down. They got it on a very big player that is core to the team's dynamic, core to the hold, and obviously core to the amount of bodies that have been put on the floor so far. Now they have a little bit of a breather as we quickly just fix the frame rate, I believe, is the one that's getting the second tweak.
What I am really enjoying about this matchup so far is the fact that both of these teams are ones which, relatively compared to other teams in Europe, are known for being very aggressive, very fast-paced.
Yeah.
Obviously, every team at this level has to play to a certain strategical level, but we're seeing more of that, and where that makes a difference in this matchup because they both have such similar natural levels of aggression. When they play against a slower, more methodical team, that's where you start to, you really see, okay, they shoot, okay, they shoot, okay, they shoot, because they kind of have that rebuttal. But when it's against another team that has that similar play style, they have to really be a lot more clinical and be a lot more careful about the way that they do go about the strategical elements. And I'm really enjoying it because it's so nice to see the coordination, which there have been times throughout the season where we've worried these teams have lacked.
Back in yet again, and we've lost the minute, unfortunately, of this round, but fingers crossed this is us good now for the rest of a series where I don't want to miss a single screen.
Look at Alems.
Just can't stop looking at Alems.
Okay.
No, he is playing Oryx. We haven't seen...
he's ready for you. Look at him.
Yeah, Oryx with the... I know Ace talked about this on the last map, is we haven't really seen the proximity too much. There's another one. There's a grip on a map that is, as I said, kind of frantic. And I guess as a response to how hot, heavy, and wild this map has been, Renshiro, well, Alibi's rumbled, so she's going to dip out of there and find a bit of safety beneath. I'm curious to see if this Oryx play pops off, because I really want one to work.
Well, Consulate is one of those maps that you would really expect it to work, just because of the layout of the map, the fact it's long and thin, and you can run to the other side of the map and use the hatches in somewhere like admin, when everyone else is on the west side of the map, as they kind of are now, and you can almost go unnoticed, and it's harder to roam clear that way, of course. WTG will be the first one taken down as Shaiko secures that kill, and the Capitão has been really important here for Virtus.pro so far. They've been lighting up these rounds and using those Infernos very much to their favor, so losing him is definitely going to be felt.
Well, with Vertical under their control, you think, okay, they have some solidity. Obviously, the Oryx, we weren't sure if it was a 6th pick or not, so we're just going to have to try and assume. I'm going to say it was, because that's a surprise play. Like, if you're going to bring Oryx for the first time, especially, it's going to be a surprise.
You don't really want to broadcast it.
No, exactly, and well, apparently you don't want to broadcast how Shaiko's game is going so far. That's another death off the board before he can start to really get himself into a round. There's a great smoke canister, a great play. This is the surprise. This is the moment. There's the pop-up, and there's the man caught. There is a trade, though, at least from the hands of Renshiro above. They've got to pick the diffuser up. They're trying to head through Anti-Chamber to get it to the opposite side and get it away from the peering eyes of Renshiro. But now it's a 2 versus 1, and now it's another round.
That was incredibly surprising. I mean, for me as well, I expected him to go all the way east and come in through, you know, Visa kind of area, I guess. He just wanted to pop up straight onto, I think what he expected was them to make the plant there. He wanted to pop up onto the site and be able to gun them down while the plant was being made. He didn't expect a mission to just be sat in the corner like that, not right away making the plant and just watching where he was going to pop up from. So that really took Alems by surprise, but obviously time ran out so much, they waited until very much the last second. Shockwave had to try and make the plant himself, and when you've still got 2 members of BDS, you don't have the option to get off the diffuser and try and take that shot yourself because you're on 0-0-0. So it obviously didn't work out for Virtus.pro in the end anyway. And so that does mean 4-2 at the half. I would have liked to have seen a 3-3, I think, especially on this map. And the fact that Virtus.pro have... Some of the great things we saw come out from them so far have been really good. But I'm definitely intrigued by how their defense is going to go.
I think that's always the thing here on this map, is when you're looking at what this map can offer and what it can reward, it's one of those play spaces that gives aggression. Okay, I'm saying this out loud. Villa went 10 attacking rounds in a row. Let's say, not about that right now. We're looking at how these two teams have hit head so far. It's been entirely within the building. It's been generally claustrophobic. Sure, there was one attempt at a jump out that it's like you know the poorly drawn star meme where it's like you tried. Because they got a team kill. That's what Shaiko was awarded with when he did that jump out there. Because he did get a team kill. Now they're going to look for something aggression on the spawn here. And if I'm going to quote Villa, I'm going to quote the fact that the very first round, the very first play from Virtus.pro was a run out in the first 5 seconds against Uno.
Well, the first 5 seconds are up, so I'm already disappointed. But I think BDS have come very prepared, given the fact they've brought Ashe and Zofia, who will be able to deal with things like the Vulcan shields, which of course they're expecting. It's Virtus.pro. But then you've also got Twitch as well, and she will, very similarly to what we saw yesterday, Rogue did the same thing, really be in charge of dealing with the Evil Eyes. If she can shoot those down and maybe get a mute jammer or 2 as well, what's great about that is it means you don't have to rely on the Ashe and Zofia to do those 2. Now, that first shotgun did get taken down. I'm assuming Alems has another one. But even so, getting shot, not great. Yeah, yes, okay, it's still got one more in pocket.
A drone in pocket. Who's upset? Is it Easy that we order around?
We do have Easy today.
So we can shout Easy do this and hopefully he'll do it. But he's too cool. He's too cool and Benelux to do what we need him to do. Great observing so far, though, as we look at this. And this is a great painted picture of one of my favorite things about this map. And one of the reasons that if I'm looking at information ops, Pulse is so good on this map because you can get a full push from just looking towards one angle. It's the only map in the game where you can pull out all the way on the camera and get the map inside the frame. It is so tall and yet slender, this death rectangle. And it's great to kind of have that up-down information now. Brede.
Well,
yes?
I was just going to say the death rectangle. It could end up being the death rectangle for BDS as they're still struggling to find their way in. They haven't been able to bring anyone from Virtus.pro down just yet. And you have a Maestro and a Smoke perfectly positioned to be able to prevent them as they start to make that push.
Well, the smoke canister is going to pop off, but with a minute left, they have the time to play this game. Obviously, Goyo is on the board, and, well, it's a big operator in the hands of Virtus.pro. Oh, no. Shockwave from above, and Piano is able to get one, and then a second as Shaiko runs for the firefight, but just gets dropped. Rask is the only one that's really suffered so far, but now it's just Renshiro and Rafal against a fully fledged defense. Renshiro, you have everything ahead of you. And at least you've also got Goyo as a freebie handout. But Pasha, well, he's got the passion and he's earned the ability to run out and try and get another bit of blood.
He's managed to get another kill for himself, but there is still going to be the smoke in WTG standing at yellow stairs. And he finishes everything off. A nice position there. He had the shotgun out earlier, ready to stop anyone who may be coming in the stairs. And he had the SMG-11 ready to stop anyone who may come in through the garage. I think that was quite a passive round there from BDS, and I'd like to see a bit more assertion from them if they do end up having to attack that site once again. The plans with the Twitch didn't seem to work out in their favor all that well, and going up against the Maestro, who was right behind White, and then, as I said, Smoke, who was well positioned, it made it really difficult for them, and they didn't really do much to try and take any upstairs presence, and that meant that Pasha was perfectly positioned to be able to run down yellow stairs, take the one kill he needed, and even though he didn't survive the run out, they still had that control through all of the round, which allowed them to take the win in the end as well.
Split site for the first time today. Is it the first time we've seen it all major? I'm trying to think back now across the other consulates that have been played, and I don't off the cuff remember seeing it. But I could obviously be mistaken in that. I quite like seeing split site. I think it adds a little bit to teams that are creative. It's more common in NA as a region. You see it a lot more than you do in EU generally. But when a creative team and when an aggressive team can bring themselves to this site and get a good lockdown of it, you look at the couple of C4s in pocket, the pulse there as well, and the possibility of Rask to get big rotations with the Oryx jumps throughout these hatches across this map, well, there could be something for Virtus.pro here, and there could be something, most importantly, I talked about it at the beginning, with the Amaru ban that puts BDS off their game.
Well, we'll obviously have to wait and see, but yeah, looking at the Oryx and just seeing if there's going to be more value found from that and derived from it than there was from BDS. We obviously saw what happened with Alems as he really failed to get the conclusion that he wanted out of his usage of that operator. As you say, it is, of course, a different site, so different opportunities and different ways that you'll be planning to use it. But it's super useful because obviously one of the really big things about this site is the fact that because it is split, it can be hard to make the right rotations to be able to, or at the right time and in the right way to actually be able to stop what is going on, stop any plant going down in enough time and without enough pushback. When you've got the pulse, that helps because it means that you can see what's happening upstairs, but combined with the Oryx, you can make very fast rotations. You are putting yourself in a more beneficial position.
One of the things that we saw earlier in the Virtus.pro versus G2 match was great preparation by Virtus.pro. They knew how G2 wanted to hold themselves onto Villa, and because of that, were able to take a few of their attacking rounds. Unfortunately, it was after losing on every single one of their defense rounds, so it was a tough race, regardless of the prep. What we've seen there on the first round, and potentially here, is again another huge amount of prep. They've got the Maverick to start getting through these hatches. They're dancing kind of delicately, but Virtus.pro, they're a well-prepped team, a well-put-together team in terms of the research that they do here. And again, for me, a very creative team when they need to be. They're waiting for this firefight, and the Lem suffers, but, well, is able to stay standing. Shockwave has a NUMP, which is a gun with a very famous saying about its capabilities, especially when you're going against the F2.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey.
I do not know what you're talking about. That's completely lost on me, definitely, and I'm sure everyone else as well. Shockwave is going to have quite a bit to go against as he knows that these players from BDS are really honing in on him. They've got a couple upstairs, they've got one on the stairs, and the drone's obviously being sent in. They just want to flush him out. Less than a minute remaining, as so much of their attention will be paid to him that maybe Virtus.pro can rely on the fact that their other players aren't going to have that same attention applied to them. Shockwave has made the rotate down, though, and that means that BDS will be able to move on in, but there's still a full team of defenders that they have to worry about.
A Claymore catches Rask, a player who we know is very confident and comfortable in the big rotations. If that was placed above a hatch, that is hilarious, and I'm sad we didn't get to see it, but you can never really predict where an Oryx is going to go because he goes where Oryx's heart wants to go best. There is another one dropped. Shaiko finds, I believe, his first blood of the game. And look at all this control they have. And look at all the bodies falling beneath there. Dropped intently under as Shaiko finds two more and gets himself a triple.
BDS did make that look incredibly easy at the end there. All they had to do was get the kills. That's really what it kind of turned out to be. And that last kill at the end there was sort of peculiar. Why would you run into box when you know that that's where the hatch is? I don't know. Virtus.pro are going to be thinking about that one and likely not returning to archives and tellers. What you see a lot of teams do is go there in the hopes that it will throw off the attacking team, but it is definitely a gamble. And just having a look to see if they've played on that site before in EUL, and the answer is no, they have not. So it definitely was a big gamble. Didn't work out, but okay, I guess they're going back.
You know, they're a team that takes by surprise. It's one of the things I said I like about them. Listen, if in their heads they go, we know what went wrong there, we know what we can change, by the looks of it, the big change is Rask. He's gone from playing on the basement to, I'm assuming, the top with the Echo, though he could try and dig himself in the corner of here and hope for a bit of safety between the big server stacks. It doesn't really matter where Rask is right now. The main point is those Echo drones are going to be eyes in the sky because the BDS push and close down came within the final 25-30 seconds. It was a late push. I can't keep harping on enough about the old-fashioned stick through the spokes mentality, but against BDS it works well. They're a team that sometimes gets shaken, communication gets a bit heated and heavy, and things start to slip through their fingers. If it's the opposite, if they get a roll, if they start taking rounds, Shaiko now on 4 kills after not showing up for the first, I believe, 5 rounds. He's a player that's starting to find his feet, and you cannot have that. He's too good.
Well, the really important thing here for Virtus.pro is the fact that in just switching out that one operator, it entirely changes their efforts from focusing on flanking to focusing on pre-decided plant denial. And obviously that was a big problem in that last round because BDS, with such ease being able to sweep up those kills at the end, meant that they were unimpeded when making the plant. And so it was a relatively effortless take from them. If there is already a lot of utility placed to prevent the plant being made that didn't rely on Virtus.pro making these rotations and making flanks, then maybe they can find more success because not only do you have the yokai drones, but you'll also be able to have the evil eyes too.
2 minutes on the board and BDS being slow and steady, making sure they don't fall for any of the same mistakes they almost fell for before. And that's the main point of this, almost fell. They know Virtus.pro are a team that likes to adapt and overcome, and they're not going to push in brazenly expecting the same results because, well, they're not going to get them. Virtus.pro, they've changed, they pull off. Look how far away the bodies are this time. Before, we at least had somebody playing directly underneath. We had someone right on the server. There is not really anyone with the immediate confrontation. It's all verticality, all C4s, all ideas. Emission on the far side, keeping pipes locked down, and Shockwave on spiral stairs. They're waiting, baiting, and almost kind of saying, well, come get us if you want this firefight. Otherwise, well, with the activity, the drones, the eyes, and a minute 20, there's still a lot of work for BDS left.
That's a brutal loss there of the yokai drone. But one of the big things about the positioning of Virtus.pro is the fact that because everyone's so spread out, it's very impractical for BDS to do any kind of a clear, really. They could go for it, but there's still so many unknowns. So they kind of do have to move in on the site, and that's why it's important the way that Virtus.pro have set themselves up, because it means they're ready for when that happens. WTG's positioning here with the shotgun is definitely an example of that, because they are just waiting for the plant to be attempted. They're not going to try and walk into the lines of sight of BDS, so they're going to force them into a position where they have to try. But Rafale's actually going to open things up there with a kill onto a mission, not what Virtus.pro wanted.
It's these moments of timing that are starting to fall through VP's fingers. BDS are taking risks. They're moving into the play space where it should be being watched, but it's just happening at the times where VP's eyes are away from it. It allows BDS to set themselves up in sight in angles that they didn't think were being so actively held and just catch them by surprise. And Renshiro isn't going to wait any longer, swings onto WTG. And now it is Rask. I talked about him being far away from the site, and unfortunately a bit too far away. Alems, though, caught up on the top of the stairs, caught out Rask, and caught himself a map point.
The worrying thing here is that at this point, as you say, you get to map point. Virtus.pro, they played their gamble, and they did it twice. That was a really big risk to make, and it didn't pay off either time. So now they're going to have to go somewhere where they feel more comfortable. Whether they'd been trying that side out in scrims, whatever it was that they'd been doing, it wasn't ready. It wasn't enough to be going up against BDS at this point. And now if they want to try and keep this map in their favor, they're going to have to claw it back in other ways, knowing that they are on the teetering edge of map point the whole way through. This was their map choice as well. The next map that we move on to is the one that BDS supposedly should be feeling more comfortable on. And this is the last chance they have to stay in this competition if they want to go up against G2 tomorrow.
Well, they're opting to try and head down to Cafe. Not going to do the split dance one more time because, well, it's cost you 2 rounds now and you're on map point. You cannot afford to keep going for the risk rewards as kind of blatantly and brazenly as picking those off sites. And this was one you already took, and you took kind of well. It was quite a quick shutdown. The body above in Piano was able to capitalize on anyone that even got close. What I'm assuming we'll see from BDS is more attention paid to that verticality, more attention paid to the potential control of that Piano hold, of Antichamber, and maybe just having some more eyes on the door so they can get in and get the diffuser down. Because, as we've seen, if they get a little bit bold with the movements, they've been rewarded quite well so far. They've been able to get in and get through and try and not really get the diffuser down, but get in a position where they could, or they're just going to wait for VP to fall back in and take them by surprise.
This is very similar to how we saw it happen in round 7 as far as operator compositions go, except BDS are going to be going for quite a different approach here. Instead of being on the Twitch, Alenz has decided to take the more traditional sledge. That means that once they do head down towards the site, he'll have that opportunity to open up the floor that is above the garage. That was something that BDS didn't do last time. They didn't have any vertical pressure. They didn't really do all that much to try and remove any of the vertical presence from Virtus.pro. That gave Pasha so much control in the defense. And it's really a mistake that they're wanting to rectify. But they're coming in from the very top floor, which means they are expecting this full map, all floors, roam, and hold from Virtus.pro, and they want to be sure they clear it out.
Pings are coming in, and the information is aplenty for Shaiko to try to shark his way through and take care of the man in the bathroom. He's locked in, but the crossfire is also present from both sides, and it's turned into a little bit of a cowboy standoff on the 3rd story. So they're going to do what BDS often do, cycle back round. They know where the bodies are. They're going to try and apply some intense pressure onto the site, and Renshiro gets dropped, but there's the pickup from Shaiko. There's the second through the wall, drops him down, won't have the confirmation, but look at the bodies of Virtus.pro trying to flood their way back in. Another one falls to Shaiko, fires for the 4th. But is instead going to pop the shield. I said that they would take it by surprise. They seem to have a habit of knowing where VP are, but this is what VP can do. They push back, apply some counter pressure, and apply a bit of reverse ideas of their own. WTG on the split. It is Pasha versus Rafal, and it falls the way of Pasha.
We had Shaiko playing the perfect bodyguard, but it turned out to not be so perfect in the end. One thing we've commented on so much about Virtus.pro in the last couple of days is that they have been so ready to take refrags. And at the start of that engagement, it looked like maybe BDS would have the upper hand in that scenario, but no. We saw it come out from Virtus.pro once again, moving on in, ensuring that they were triangulating and coordinating to know exactly where all the attacking members were coming in from, and there was always someone to deal with it. Even when Pasha was left so low HP in security, WTG was nearby to ensure that that kill was secured for the team. And that was a great round from them. Knowing how much they have to lose if they let this map slip between their fingers, seeing something like that does pump some optimism into the hearts of all of the Virtus.pro fans everywhere, including the team themselves. And now they continue forward. The difference in round count slightly minimized, but still a way to go.
The question now is what sites are we going to see potentially from Virtus.pro? So they've opted for lobby instead of going back to archives. We haven't seen this from them yet, but if this goes well, do they head up to CEO or do they try and roll the dice one more time on that split site and take that risk one more time? Either way, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. We still got to get through this one.
Well, the really scary thing here is that when we look back through the regular season, Virtus.pro played on Piano Lobby offensively 3 times. They lost 3 times. Then you talk about needing to go to meeting a CEO. They played that 5 times and they lost 5 times. The only site on this map that they had any success on in the regular season was Cafeteria Garage, which they took all the times that they tried to defend it. But that doesn't give much room for success if you continue making the same mistakes that you did throughout the regular season. So we have to hope and believe, which is highly likely, that they have been scrimming it, they have been working on it, they have been practicing on it, but they don't have much wiggle room to get it wrong.
Angles are coming out from the top windows. Renshiro already exceptionally low. Virtus.pro leaning back into the hyper-aggression that, well, I'm going to say did them some justice earlier on throughout this tournament, but has also unfortunately had mixed results. Shaiko, however, is just going to swing and pop the head of Pasha like it's nothing. Escapes onto the tail, almost finds the second. But Shockwave is there to shut them down. There's still one more gun on the admin windows. Doesn't quite catch Shockwave on the escape, though. Bride unfortunately lets the man slip by, but, well, Alems is there for some French revenge, and Shockwave suffers le coste.
French revenge indeed. And now it's a 3 versus 3 with half the round remaining. Got one player prone in lobby, although Rosk is going to be getting up off of his knees, and WTG still crucially has control of bathroom, playing behind the mirror windows, and in fact just opening up some of the soft wall there, so he has that line of sight onto the yellow stairs should he need it. In fact, he's going to use it just to vault on through and make the rotation down. All 3 players deciding to convene in that part of the map, all coordinating together so that they're ready for when BDS begin to move on through. Alem's also just ready, but it's Rafal who's been droning downstairs and sending his drones still across the map so that they can figure out where everyone is. No rush is being made here by either team to be acting, but there's still so much that weighs on this round that as soon as someone makes the first move, it's going to end up in chaos.
The diffuser, cold and awaiting the pickup and response, and with only 30 seconds left, whatever intel BDS have and want to act upon, well, they've got to do it sooner rather than later. You've still got a Mizian to get through. Hasn't quite had the big games he's had throughout the tournament, but when you're, you know, a Mizian and you're still 6-8, you're still having a pretty exceptional standing, and you've got an Alder in hand, a great gun that you've wielded so well so far. They're going to try and stick the plant. The impact goes out. They go bold, and Rask with the cover gets one. A Mizian double wide peaks, but Rafal has the cover, and Alems has one too. With only 8 seconds, they've got to stick it. WTG could make a play here. Above, they're concerned about the cover. They don't quite catch it. No, there is the post plant. There is bullets in the legs, and there's actually a bit of fresh air in the hands. It's every which way these bullets are coming from. They know they're deep outside. They know they can't just go for the defuse. They have to contest this with a gun that is tough to handle and tough to maintain. They're gonna try and long arm it and bait the play, but BDS, they don't fall for that, and they take map 1.
Brutally wrenched out of Virtus.pro's favor, but BDS are going to be feeling very good about that and very solid and very confident moving into the next map. Consulate very firmly remaining in their control, and they get one step closer to the grand finals of tomorrow. BDS, this team that came up through Challenger League, proved themselves and were on the global stage of SI just earlier this year, and now they are so much closer to making it to the grand finals of this major after having a great run through EUL. Are they going to be able to do it?
Wow, I mean,